Okay, hi, hello. The Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch 2, that's a mouthful, just dropped, and I am a Nintendo fan. This is my prop to prove it. I've been a lifelong Nintendo fan for basically since I could speak, so I just have a lot of thoughts and I want to share. And I thought some people might care, a lot of you probably won't, but that's okay. So let's talk prices. Let's just get right into it. For the console, the hardware itself, it's going to be, I think, $450, and there's also a bundle that includes the new Mario Kart for $500. This is actually really uncomfortable. I think that's fair. Obviously it's kind of expensive. I'm not saying it's not, but like it's 100. It's hardware that's capable up to 120 FPS, 4K resolution, has HDR for both. 256 gigs of internal storage. Obviously, it has a modern stuff you need. Cooling system. It's built a built-in microphone, and also Nintendo wants to make a profit on it because it's their company, obviously. So I don't know. $450 seems reasonable, definitely expensive, but just for what you're getting, it seems normal to me. It's also worth mentioning that there are obviously tariffs in the United States and other countries. If you don't know what those are, you're too young. Basically, it just means the government, or our government, is putting taxes on people importing products into our country. So things are going to be more expensive for us than they might be in Japan. So, for example, the Nintendo Switch, there's going to be it's not perfect, because there's different currencies, but in Japan, the Switch is going to be, it looks like $350 ish. Again, it's not a direct one-to-one, correlation ratio, but it looks like it's going to be roughly 350 US dollars. So it's about $100 more for us, which, sucks, but there's nothing really that Nintendo can do about that, to my knowledge. So it's kind of just like, we gotta bite the bullet. If you don't like that, talk to your local politicians, or that's a whole other thing. But the games, that's the big thing. Mario Kart, a physical copy of Mario Kart World, the new one, it's gonna be 90 fucking dollars. Um, that's way too high. That's way too high. I think it is worth mentioning that presumably the tariffs would also affect the games. I think people talk about that in relation to the console, but in theory, the tariffs would also affect the games. So it's understandable to be a bit higher. Obviously, we're entering an age where games are going to be more expensive. $70 games have been more normalized. There's not a shadow of doubt in my body that GTA is going to be at least $80 or $90. I think $80 for a digital and $90 for physical is kind of outrageous. I think maybe cut it down like $15, $20, so it's like, maybe it would be 60 for digital, 70 for physical, or even 70 for physical, 80 or 70 for digital, 80 for physical. I think it's pushing it, but maybe. But 90 for a physical game, it's just outrageous. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, if you think about it, at least where I live, California, minimum wage, and this is high. This is a high minimum wage, but in California, minimum wage is $15 an hour, right? Let's pretend taxes don't exist, right? $15 an hour. That means for a $60 game, it used to be you could work 4 hours, and that was equivalent to one game, right? Now, if it's a $9 game, that's 6 hours. That's a full shift, basically. Unless always there's 8 hour shifts, but a 6 hour shift is a lengthy shift. And obviously you can include taxes. 7 hour. That's a full day's work. It's outrageous with rent. I don't know. I think what's gonna happen is a lot of people, like myself, for example, just aren't gonna buy that many games. Or they're only gonna be able to buy the games that they really know for sure they want. So, for example, for me, I didn't know if I was going to get into Splatoon. Splatoon is still a relatively new series, right? I bought Splatoon 2 because I thought it looked interesting, and it was kind of a pricey game, but I was like, it looks cool. If Splatoon 2 was when I bought Splatoon, if that was $90, that never would have, I just wouldn't have bought it. You know what I mean? So I think the issue with the price isn't just that it's expensive, but also that it discourages people from experimenting with new games, because it's like, why? There's so much at stake. It's like, you want to buy a game that you're gonna like. You're not gonna want to experiment at all, because it's like, what have you dropped $90? You don't like the game. Now you're just out $90. So I think this is really short-sighted to make games this expensive. Obviously, not all games are gonna be that expensive. There have been dynamic prices. The new Donkey Kong game is not gonna be as expensive, so it seems like Nintendo is factoring in its relative market demand. I don't know, but hopefully they're not all as expensive, or they cut it back. I don't know, but it's definitely high. It's also worth talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 editions, or the upgrade packs. Those are when you spend money to upgrade your Nintendo Switch 1 games to be enhanced for Nintendo Switch 2. And to be clear, to my knowledge, all games are backwards compatible for the Switch, except for Nintendo Labo, because, obviously. But it seems like they don't get any other base boost. Even on the better hardware, they're not going to get, which I don't even know how that works, really, because you'd think it was better hardware, to a certain extent, like if there's more RAM, it's just gonna load a little bit better. But I guess for games that like have a hard cap, maybe they'll now be able to exceed that cap. Because what I think about is like Tears of the Kingdom, right? It runs at like I think 30 frames per second, but it definitely drops lower than that at some points. So what I have to wonder is on the Switch 2, without the expansion pack, I would assume that it would still be able to run up to 30 frames per second, like but just the parts that were laggy, hopefully would just lag less. But then if you enhanced it with like the paid version, the paid patch, then it would then be the cap would be removed. That's what I think is gonna happen, but because it'd almost be weirder if like they somehow made it so you couldn't get like if it'd be weird if it was just as laggy on the Switch 2. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm explaining this. I think as long as the expansion packs aren't more than $10 to $15, I think they're fine. I think that's a reasonable price, honestly. You have to remember that like they're going back and taking these games that are done products, essentially finished, and updating. I mean, Breath of the Wild was a Wii U game when you like at its core, right? And it's had a number of patches, I think, in DLC and stuff like since then. So, you know, obviously they have the capacity to update these old games and update them and stuff. But like Breath of the Wild, like that's on the shelf. That is a finished game at this point. And I don't know how hard it is to develop a patch for. I really don't. Maybe it's as simple as like unchecking one box or changing a value. Be like, now it's not from 60 FPS to 120. And that's the difference. I think it's gonna be more than that. Some of the games like Mario Party have like full like voice and video chat like edited in, so it's like clearly for some of them it's going to be more substantial. I think the price of $10 to $15 seems reasonable. I hope it's closer to like 5 to 10, but it's looking like from rumors and leaks it's going to be 10 to 15. I guess that's fine. Also, I think I saw that for Nintendo Switch Online members it's going to be free. I'm not sure if that's for the base version or like the Nintendo Switch Plus. I've seen both tossed around, so I hope it's the base level, but it probably won't be. But it seems like, yeah, I don't know. It seems reasonable enough to me. I see a lot of people complaining about it, but I don't know. PlayStation does this kind of thing all the time. To my knowledge, I think Xbox has done this once or twice. It seems not that weird to me. Yeah. What? So that's the pricing stuff. I think the biggest red flag is the price of the physical games for the new Nintendo Switch games. I think that's fucking nuts. But Nintendo's gonna Nintendo, I guess. I don't know. Moving on to the new features, the voice chat. Okay. The voice chat is extremely cool. I'm really happy they're doing it. I personally don't really care. As an adult who has, Discord and a phone and, various other apps, FaceTime, Zoom, all these different things. Like, I don't need more ways to communicate, really. If I want, like, if there's a friend I want to play with, right, we presumably already have a way to communicate. I can't think of any of my friends where it's like I only have them added on Switch 2. I guess if you make a friend, like it's a cool feature. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad it's here for the record. But I'm not trying to diss it at all or say it's even bad or unnecessary. I think it's a really good feature. I'm saying I don't think I personally am going to get that much use out of it. I think for younger people, I think it's really good because then you don't, obviously with younger, children, you don't want them necessarily going in random Discord calls with people you don't know. When it's all localized through the Switch, Nintendo has a lot more control, and by proxy, the parental app has a lot more control. I think it's safer, I think it's convenient, and I think it's good. I think it's a good thing to add. I think I personally won't get that much use out of it, but I think it's a good feature. I think it makes, Nintendo games have always been very social, so I think it's a good core feature for that aspect. As for, like, the screen sharing, I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. Even, like, I don't know. I see people complain that it's laggy, right? But the thing is, I don't know if anyone have actually, like, used screen sharing on, like, Discord or Zoom or, like, FaceTime. They're laggy everywhere. I think Discord's the best, but unless you're paying for, like, the extra special version, it's still pretty laggy at, like, 720p resolution. It's not very good. Like, it's good. It gets the job done. Is it better than Switch? Yes, obviously. But in order, like, I think having it natively integrated into the system with up to 3 to 4 people at once while also rendering the primary person's game, that's crazy. Like, that's really cool. I think people, I don't know. Obviously, it'd be better if the frame rate was higher, but, like, I don't know. I think it seems cool to me. I don't know. And I would have to imagine that if you have, in the example they showed, like, in the Direct, it had all three people screen sharing at once. I have to imagine if it was just one person screen, like a one-on-one call, it would probably be less laggy. And I think I honestly respect Nintendo for showing it. And it's like, it's hard to setting, it's pushing it. Like, I think it's nice that they're showing, yeah, it's going to be kind of laggy. It's not perfect, but they're just showing you what you're going to get. I respect the hell out of that. I also think that, yeah, it's cool, again, with the whole, like, integrating it directly into the console. It's just more convenient. It's safer. And, like, even for, like, people like me, or, like, adults who have Discord or FaceTime or whatever, a lot of people don't have, like, capture cards and HDMIs hooked up to a computer like, content creators do. It's easy enough for us to, like, screen share it, like, whatever, our Switch or whatever on Discord. But for, like, your average everyday person, it's not something that's super easily accessible. So I think this is a really good feature. I don't know. I think it's cool. I see people complaining about it. I think they're just being haters. As for the camera, I am very, very happy the camera is an accessory and not built into the Switch. If the Wii U taught us anything with like the banana boat of a controller that it is, it had way too much shit in it that you never use, and it just made the prices go way up. I personally probably, even because I might dabble with the voice chat, I don't know, it might be convenient, it might be cool. Maybe I'll use the voice chat in Nintendo Switch. I guarantee you I would never use the camera. I would never use the camera. So I am very glad it's not built in. I'm glad it's just an accessory. Does it look a little silly, like standing on its little thing next to the Switch? Yes, it does. I still think it's better. It brings the prices down for everyone. As for the camera's actual use, I think the green screening, like cutout, inserting into the game, I think that's kind of just a gimmick. I think it doesn't look that cool to me. I guess if you're into that, you want to use that, maybe it'll be great. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. Especially for local play. Like, it's one thing for if you're doing this like some kind of online thing, but if you're playing Mario Party next to me in the room, if I want to see your ugly face, I can just turn around. Like, I don't need to look at the screen projecting it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It seems like a gimmick, but it's like, whatever. I'm very curious about the quality of the microphone and how well the noise cancellation will work. I hope it's good. Particularly the noise cancellation and like the volume, like normalization, because oftentimes what I've experienced, at least with noise cancellation, is it will remove the noise, but also it'll make like your voice really quiet, and then everyone's to turn. And it's just kind of like a weird system, at least on like Discord, for example. So I just hope it works well. I feel like it's a pretty base thing to want. I think mouse mode looks cool. Like the Joy-Con thing, I think it looks cool. There's that new game they have, Drag X Drive or Drag Cross Drive. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say your Dragon Drive. I don't know. But the wheelchair basketball game, I think it looks cool. I see some people saying it looks lame. I'll talk about it more when I talk about the rest of the games, but I think it looks cool. I don't know. And just putting aside that game, mouse support for games like Metroid Prime 4 or shooters, like, if you're playing any kind of shooter game, or if you're playing like, if they bring Sims to the Switch, you're playing Civilization, if you're playing like Fortnite or even Minecraft, like there's so many reasons why having like a mouse mode seems like a really good feature. Maybe this tech demo game, this basketball, like maybe it's gimmicky. I don't know. I think it looks cool, and regardless, I think mouse mode is cool, so I think it's really good, innovative use of the Switch technology, and I'm here for it. As for the game selection, let's start with the third-party stuff. Obviously, we have Silksong and Deltarune, and Hades 2, Final Fantasy, Split Fiction. There's that one game that crashed like the North American stream. That sucks for Nintendo. It's really unfortunate. I wonder how that even happened, because it's like, is it not just pre-recorded? Like they've done directs for years now, and they've never whatever. Just kind of funny. Also, during the presentation, the direct, were there audio issues, or was that just me? Because I swear for me on my end, it was like the audio was lagging behind the video, and I thought it was my headphones. I disconnected my headphones, and like you did it just playing out of my speakers, and that was still lagging. So like maybe my computer was lagging. I don't know, but like I'm just kind of curious. Was that for anyone else or just me? Anyways, actually, back to the games, I got distracted. Also, we have before I mentioned the first party AAA games. Also to mention, we also have the backwards compatible new games for the Switch, right? So these aren't Switch 2 games, but games like Metroid Prime 4, the new Tomodachi Life, that one Pokemon game. There's probably others I'm forgetting. Those will also, in a way, be like launch titles for the Switch because they're I don't know, you know what I mean? And then obviously we have the first party games, the Mario Kart World. We have the Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders. I'm definitely reading a list here. Kirby Air Riders, Drag X Drive, the Welcome Tour that's paid for some reason. And I think there's like one other thing I'm forgetting. Because I have it written, there was another thing, and to check in, I forgot to write it down. So I don't know. But let's put this one at a time. Mario Kart World, I think it looks really cool. I'm curious how the open world exploration feature will work. It kind of reminds me of like GTA, where you're just kind of driving around for fun. I think it's cool. I hope there's things to do. I hope there's just, even if it's small, I hope you're not just driving around for the sake. I mean, that's still cool to explore, but like I hope there's some kind of incentive, even a really like basic ass bitch ass story. Just give us something, you know. I'm curious how retro, because the whole world is an interconnected world where all the tracks like feed into one another. I wonder how retro courses will work. At least that was my thought. And then someone on Twitter pointed out that in like the big world map, you can see Mario Circuit 1, 2, and 3 from like the NES. NES. And I think I saw in like the top right corner of the world map, it's mirrored, but you know, the top right corner of the world map, there was Rosalina's Ice World. I think I saw. So maybe like they just picked retro courses that would kind of integrate into the world map. I do think it's interesting that it feels like with that approach, with an enclosed map, they kind of cut themselves off from doing any kind of DLC, which is interesting, but it's like, I don't know, I'm sure they've thought about that. Obviously, the character selection for the game is fucking nuts. I love that you can play as the Moo from Moo Meadows. I think that's so stupid. And there's others, like the dry bones fish. There's a word for that enemy. I'm forgetting what it's called. Is it called a dry fish or a fish bone? I don't know, but that's that. There's like a penguin and like the crab thing and the what are they called? The things from Mario Sunshine. Oh, I know the name. Like the duck-billed guy. Oh, I know the name and it's pissed me off. I'm forgetting them. But there's lots of random BS. So I'm here for that. I hope you guys can't hear my phone dinging. As for the other games, I'll admit it. I'm not a huge Donkey Kong. I like Donkey Kong, to be clear. I've played a couple Donkey Kong games, but I'm not like, whoa, Donkey Kong. Like I'm just like, okay, cool, new Donkey Kong game. So new 3D Donkey Kong looks cool. I don't think anybody's expecting that, which I think is just objectively funny. Like I think that is it is. I never, and like if I had to predict 15 different games that I thought could have possibly ended the direct, not even top like 30 would have been a new 3D Donkey Kong. Like, would not even enter my mind. So I just think this is funny as hell. Kirby Air Riders. I think it's interesting that they're doing 2 different kart racers as like the launch window games. You'd think there would be more variety. I don't know. It's just a little surprising to me. Obviously there's the Drag X Drive game. I think the game looks cool. I'm gonna be honest. People say it looks gimmicky, it looks dumb. I think like, cause I don't know. I've been around a few different people with wheelchairs, and like the way they have to like finagle the wheels, so like they're turning left or right or forward or backwards. I think using dual mice sounds kind of cool for that. I don't know. It's really unique. It's something you could really only do like with dual, and it's like even the motion is correct, and you have to pick it up to shoot. Like it's super intuitive. It reminds me of like a Wii game. I think it looks cool. I'm not saying that just because I'm like, yay, go Nintendo. I'm a Nintendo fan. Like I am, but like it genuinely seems like a cool premise. And as long as it's not like too expensive, like, you know, make it a $20 game for the eShop. I don't know. I think it looks cool, and I think it's cool that like they've taken this like thing that's like, you know, it's a real world disability, but like they've made a whole game mechanic out of it, and like it's not even it just seems cool to me. I don't know. And people say it looks uncomfortable, but it's like, why would that be uncomfortable? How is it any different than just using a keyboard and mouse? The only thing it's different, because you're obviously moving your hand around for a mouse, the only thing that's different is you're moving it for your left hand too, or your whatever, you're right-handed. So it's like, I don't get what the hate is. I think it looks cool. I definitely want to check it out. Anyways, moving on. There's also the Welcome Tour. Why is this paid? Even if it's $1, why is this paid? It's cute. Maybe they'll change their mind. I don't know. I don't. It doesn't look like a game. Like if it was like some kind of mini game collection, maybe. But if this doesn't look like a game, it just looks like a tech demo. Like I don't. This is weird. What's okay? What strikes me about the game selection though, and this is maybe going to be controversial. It's surprising to me that there's not really a system seller. I think. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, because obviously you have Mario Kart and Kirby, and Donkey Kong. Those are all huge major Nintendo, you know, franchises. Like I'm not saying they're nothing, but like what I mean is that Mario Kart is a spin-off series of the main, you know, Mario. And don't get me wrong, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was like one of the best-selling Mario games, or just games of all time. So it makes sense. I'm not dissing it. In fact, I think Mario Kart is like the most system seller of the bunch, right? Like I'm not even really. This isn't really about Mario Kart, right? But Kirby isn't. I mean, Kirby's a huge Nintendo franchise, but it's not like Kirby isn't like the big three. You know what I mean? Like the big three is like Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, You could argue Animal Crossing could go in there. You could argue Smash goes in there. I don't think anyone would argue that like Kirby's part of the big three or even the big five. When I think like the heavy hitting Nintendo franchise, I think of like The Legend of Zelda, Animal Crossing, honestly at this point Splatoon, Pokemon, even like a 2D Mario, not like a 3D Mario, but even like a 2D Mario game. Kirby is definitely one of the big series, but it's not like the biggest of the big series. It's small. It's kind of up there with like Metroid a little bit. Like people love Kirby. I love Kirby. Well, I don't love Kirby. I like Kirby, but people love Kirby. But like when you talked, those are people who are like already Nintendo pilled. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about like the casual, broader reach people. Most people know Kirby from Smash Bros. Like they don't know Kirby from his own games. They know Kirby from Smash Bros. And like that's awesome. But part of the reason for that also was because Sakurai is the maker of Smash Bros. So he loves Kirby. So he obviously, he's heavily whatever. The point I'm making is that like Kirby especially a spin-off racing game when Mario Kart is already there feels like an odd choice as like a system seller. Donkey Kong also, Donkey Kong is adjacent enough to Mario because honestly, even myself to a certain extent, I'll admit I'm a little guilty of this. There are a lot of people when they think of Nintendo, they think like Mario and Zelda, and that's kind of it. And when they play a Nintendo game, they want to play like a Mario game or a Zelda game or maybe a Metroid or a Kirby or whatever, right? I think unless you're talking specifically about like the generation that grew up on the Nintendo 64 with the rare Donkey Kong games, I don't think most people would be like, I want to play a Donkey Kong game if they weren't already kind of Nintendo pilled. Does that make sense? Like I hope what I'm saying makes sense. That being said, Donkey Kong is obviously adjacent enough to Mario where maybe some of the people who do only play Mario games or only play, the really big games might be interested. I don't know. I can't see it for certain. Me personally, I'm not a huge Donkey Kong fan. I am a Mario fan, Zelda fan. I like Donkey Kong. I'm not a huge Donkey Kong fan. If this new Donkey Kong game was coming out any other time, I probably wouldn't pick it up. I'll be honest, because I just don't care that much. Especially if the games are going to be this expensive. Because it's a launch window game, I might get it just so I have something to play, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't really care about Donkey Kong, you know what I mean? I don't really care that much about Kirby, and hate me if you want for being like a really, basic ass bitch who only plays like the big, the basic Mario games. That's fine. You have to understand though, I'm not unique in that. A lot of people only play like a lot of the really popular games and really popular franchises. And it's surprising to me that in this direct, we didn't get like even a teaser or an announcement or a mention or even like a frame and a scissor reel. Like no Mario, obviously there's Mario Kart, but no like 3D Mario. 3D Mario are system sellers. Historically, there's always been like a Mario game coming out in the launch window of a new platform. And I'm sure it'll be the holiday. I'm sure it will come in the holidays. I'm sure it will. But to not even mention it, it's surprising to me. But like, okay, maybe no Mario, but then there's no Zelda, there's no Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Pokemon, Smash Bros. There's the heaviest hitters weren't even mentioned, and like to be clear, I don't hate or I'm not even upset with any of the games, right? I am excited for Mario Kart especially, and I will probably check out the Donkey Kong game, and it looks cool. And I might check out Kirby. Again, I'm not sure if I need like a second kart race. Like I really don't know why they did 2 kart. That's so weird to me. But like maybe I would even pick up Kirby, or if it was like a normal 2D Kirby game, I'm more interested in picking it up. But like that's speaking from someone who's like generally open to trying out new video games. Like recently, I played I started playing Metroid Prime for the first time. I think it's been out 20 years. I just never got around to playing it, but it was like I saw it on sale. I was like, okay, I'll check it out, and I'm enjoying it. I'm open to trying new things when they're reasonably priced. But if you're launching some crazy new like pricing structure where games are up to $90, it's kind of nuts to me that you're not going to at least give them like one hell of a game. If it was like the biggest new Mario game ever, like Mario, 3D Mario, or a 3D Zelda, or the biggest new craziest Animal Crossing, or whatever it was, I think people might be more accepting of it being like a $90-ish, $80 game. But when what they're seeing is like, or at least for me, what I'm seeing is like 3D monkey game. Cool. Like, I don't know. And again, I like these franchises. I will try them out, and you will probably try them out if you're watching this video, because you're a Nintendo. If you're watching this video at this point, you're probably a Nintendo fan. You're probably going to game the Switch anyways. You're probably open to trying them out. You probably like Donkey Kong, probably like Kirby. But a lot of people aren't like that. You know what I mean? A lot of people Nintendo to them is Mario games, Zelda games, and whatever, Animal Crossing. Like, I feel like I'm hammering this point in enough, but to me, it's just very surprising that they haven't even mentioned a system seller. Like, Mario Kart is great. Like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did amazingly well, but I think it did amazingly well because it was on the Switch. You know what I mean? Like, before the Booster Pass DLC came out for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was basically just Mario Kart 8 with all the DLC, right? Remember, like, when the Switch first came out, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was just Mario Kart 8 with all the DLC and a better battle mode. And most people don't really care about, like, casual people don't care about battle mode, really. That same game was on the Wii U, and it did awful because it was on the Wii U. I mean, you know, what I'm saying is I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did so well because it was the Mario Kart for the Switch. And I think, well, it's good to have it on Switch too as well. I think it's great they're doing another Mario Kart. I'm not sure if that by itself is a system seller. You know what I mean? Like, I really just am so surprised they didn't be like, oh, and next year there's a new Zelda game in the works. They don't have Miyamoto show up. Like, we're doing something with Mario. Like, I don't know. That's my thoughts. Maybe you disagree, but to me, it's surprising that they're not promising more, and I think that's gonna be a mistake going forward because I think a lot of people are gonna look at the price point and say this system is nearly $500. The games are almost $100 a pop. I mean, if you're thinking physical games, because a lot of people also, especially older generations who are used to physical games, don't really understand how eShops work, don't want to do them. I don't even like using digital games. Like, I'll probably get the Mario Kart 8 bundle because it's just way more affordable if I'm getting Mario Kart anyways. But generally speaking, I much, much, much prefer physical games. But if I'm looking at nearly $100 per game, hell fucking no. Forget digital games. I'm not going to be getting games, period, because that's too much. I can't afford to be experimental. And I'm someone who's already open to experimenting with new games. If you're a person who only plays, like, 3D Mario games and you already have a trouble, like, you already don't experiment that much, an $80 price point is going to dissuade you. And I just think I'm just really baffled by the game selection is the point I'm making. Last thing I want to touch on really quick, kind of has to do with games. NSO is now getting GameCube, which is cool. And it's NSO Plus, I should mention. That's cool. I'm surprised Melee isn't there, mostly. That's like the biggest GameCube game. I would say kind of inarguably. And this would be the opportunity for them to make, Smash Bros. Melee with online multiplayer support. That would be fucking nuts. It's not there. They have Chibi Robo. That's cool. Scott the Waz will be happy, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Also, to be clear, I am a big Mario and Zelda fan, right? And I brought these out. I have the art book for Zelda, and I have the art book for Odyssey, and I have the Mario Encyclopedia, and, like, I am a big Mario and Zelda fan, right? I do play other franchises. I've been playing a lot of Metroid recently. I'm getting into... I tried Splatoon, love Splatoon. It's one of those things where I am willing to experiment when I can afford to, right? The keyword being, or the phrase I mean when I can afford to. And with these prices, I can't. You know what I mean? Like, I straight up cannot. And I just think with the selection of games they presented, combined with the prices they're proposing, combined with it being a new system, which means a low install base, this just seems like a recipe. Like, I want to be excited. I am excited for the new Switch, but I feel like it's not going to go that well in the long term with the way things are looking now. And that's just kind of my thoughts. Maybe you all disagree, but that's what I think. So, yeah. Leave a comment if you agree or disagree, or have other thoughts. I don't know. Or just if I've gotten anything wrong, because I'm sure I have, on prices or games or whatever, correct me. And also, if you're a longtime viewer of my channel, I promise new content is coming soon. Streams will be coming back in, like, a month or two-ish. Things are cooking, so stay tuned.